Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Takes on the Yard. Today, I am privileged to have the host of the review on Clark Atlanta University TV, Channel 23, Ellis Starr. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm really excited.
So, before we get into everything, the first episode of your show was just released on YouTube, right?
Yes,
How
shout
do you
out
feel
to
about
my editor, who happens to be the host of this show. Honestly, I'm a little overwhelmed, but I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited about the possibilities and super excited about the plans I have for this upcoming season. Definitely want to be more consistent with it. So that's where I'm at.
I hope to still be editing your show, and then hopefully you don't fire me. Let's get into our first topic of today. Recently, Chris Paul was just traded to the Golden State Warriors for Jordan Poole. Yeah, that's a bit of a shock. I think most people were shocked when they heard about that. But I just want to say, I think that may be one of the worst trades of all time. It's definitely not a smart trade. But what's your take on it?
So, funnily enough, when we talked about when they announced it, CP3 was getting traded. The conversation was never him going to a different team. The conversation was always him coming back to LA, whether that be on the Clippers or the Warriors, the Clippers or the Lakers. And we talked about it. And I told you there was really nothing that he had to offer the Clippers right now. Like he's done all he could for the Clippers. And if he went to the Lakers, then it would be like a marketing thing. It would be, oh, welcome back to LA. Like it would be like a money making kind of situation. I don't see him doing anything for the Warriors either. At all.
Yeah, I don't really see it either. What I'm getting from this is nothing really. Chris Paul is 38 years old. He's coming to the end of his career. I don't see what he can do with the Warriors to help them go back to being a championship team, especially with Draymond Green gone as well. Jordan Poole is 24 and he's
Yeah.
a young player. He just signed a big contract with the Warriors. Now the Wizards will pick up that contract. But what I'm not understanding is what happened for them to get rid of Jordan Poole for Chris Paul, who you probably will have until in his career with the Warriors.
I don't think it's the smartest thing. I definitely think that the incident in the summer league between Poole and Draymond Green definitely had something to do with it. I think that as a team, their dynamics changed a lot after that incident. And you could tell on the court, like the Warriors, much like the Lakers, they're a giant franchise team, but they're also what I call like a family team. Like they're the kind of team that you're gonna have people like sitting and spending their entire careers with these teams. Like they're the kind of people where parents are passing down like being a fan of this franchise to their children. They expect their children to also be a fan of this franchise, no matter what other players that are there. So I feel like when you have organizations like that, you can't just do whatever with the players. Like you can't just have an organization that runs for rings because fans are going to care a lot more about the ring. They're going to care a lot more about who's actually on the court than whether we can win a championship or not. And I think this team, despite everything that happened, made a really good run this season. But they did it because they had so many young players to support Steph and Draymond. CP3 is not going to be able to support them the way that Jordan Poole supported them. And I think even with everything that happened, Jordan Poole was starting to like really solidify himself as like a great center of the team. I think Jordan Poole really stepped up when Steph was injured. I think that he really made sure that people realized I'm not just coming here because I play basketball. Like I am a warrior. Like I can be a part of Dub Nation. I can represent Dub Nation. I don't CP3 can't do that. Like I think CP3 represented the Clippers very well when he was in LA. I don't think he represented Arizona. I don't think he'll represent Golden State.
And I go back final with CP3 Suns, and CP3 didn't play well at all. He was turning over the ball so many times and it just looked like it wasn't him. He was just so out of character. But I don't see what more offered to the Warriors. But this is also changing how the Warriors play. The Warriors may have to start playing small ball now. I don't think CP be a six man. I don't see him off the bench unless the Warriors are struggling in the first half of the season. To start off next season, pretty sure CP the one point guard. Steph Curry will be a shooting guard. Klay Thompson, small forward. Jonathan Kuminga, guard. Power forward. Crazy. Arnold at center, but I don't see above the bench until something goes wrong. He reminding me of struggles that they had this last their starting lineup because they had so many different starting lineups. Even Anthony Davis mentioned how they have more starting lineups. They have more starting lineups than wins or something like that. I think that's what he said, but it it doesn't really, still doesn't make sense why this trade went through. One reason I can think of is possible contracts. Jordan Poole did not play well in the playoffs year about that. He had just signed the big contract with the Warriors, and maybe the Warriors general manager and the front office has potential going down the next with that contract. And they maybe thought like, I don't think it is going to pan out for us, even though we signed him.
But I think, truth be told, with the way Wiggins was out this season and how much the Warriors actually truthfully depend on Wiggins, if we didn't have Poole, I don't think they would have been able to make the playoffs run that he did, regardless of his performance. I think if we did have Wiggins, he would have been a lot more well rested. He wouldn't have been used as much and he would have been able to actually perform the way that he did. I think if emotions behind the locker rooms weren't as high as they were, I feel like he also would have performed better. There's a lot of what ifs
Right.
in Jordan Poole. And I think there's a lot of what ifs in younger players, period. But out of these past 2 seasons, I think the Warriors have really proven if you give young players a chance, they're not really gonna disappoint you. Like, they're going to take you as far as they can go, and they're going to give their all on the court. I think Jordan did exactly that. I really don't see why that should have been, I'm not gonna say punished, but that's what this feels like. It goes, "Yeah, you didn't do as well as we expected you to in the playoffs. Sure, you got us there, but, like, we needed you to finish all the way through, and you're finding with your teammates, that's we don't really wanna deal with that right now." Which is fair, but, like, it's not it's an unnecessary decision when you know that you have a lot of moving pieces and a lot of uncertainty coming in. Like, their general management is changing right now. Like, they just got an interim general manager, and he said that his main priority is making sure that Green comes back. So, obviously, there's gonna be pieces that fall into the cracks, making sure that Draymond actually comes back to the Warriors. So, sure, we have CP3, but who's actually going to replace the amount of work, the amount of, like, effort on the court that Poole was actually doing? Because it's not gonna be CP3. It's not gonna be Griff.
That's
Like, it has to be somebody.
another thing about home government. Warriors trying to get Draymond back. That definitely played a big role because the moment Poole was traded, what was the first thing he did? I followed Draymond. Oh, and so I feel like there's definitely politics there, and it shows where their loyalty lies. No matter age, but their loyalty is going to lie with their Green, which is why they're worried. They didn't make it a fight for it. How
But they need Green, truth be told. I mean, if you as long as you have Steph, I think you need Green. If you have Steph to shoot, you need Green to clear the court. Like, they go hand in hand, and I think whenever Green gets injured, we can see that Steph's game isn't what we talk about, but whenever Steph is injured, the team keeps moving because Green is still there to keep the team moving. Jonathan Kuminga showed up in a huge way this season, but Green was right there next to him. Like, the Warriors didn't really suffer all that much when Clay got out. They didn't really suffer when he came back, and people were like, "You're not exactly who you used to be." But we did suffer greatly those first couple games that Curry got injured in, and then we suffered greatly again when Green got injured. I think it's appropriate that their loyalty is to Green because they have to keep the clocks running, and Green is a very large part of that. Truthfully, I think Green is doing a little Aaron Judge moment. I think that he's going to entertain the possibility of other teams before ultimately going back and revising that contract with the Warriors. If he doesn't, I will be completely shocked.
What you were saying about Draymond Green and how important he is to the Warriors and how the Warriors need him is very valid. But I'm thinking of this whole situation from a future perspective where in a few years, Draymond may not be with the Warriors and
Mhm.
CP3 definitely won't be with the Warriors. And who knows what happens with everybody else. But I know for one that Jordan Poole would have still remained with the Warriors, and Jordan Poole would have been that guy to lead the Warriors in that young core. But obviously, that's not going to happen now. And I wanted to get to another reason why I think that the Warriors didn't keep him and they were okay with getting Chris Paul to play with them until the end of his career. When I look at the contract differences, Jordan Poole's contract is 4 years, $128 million. Chris Paul's contract is 4 years, $120 million. 2 years already being played with the Suns. So the Warriors are picking up Chris Paul's
Right.
contract with this upcoming season. That contract, that money is not entirely guaranteed. It's a partially guaranteed. And the next season after that, which will probably be his last season in the NBA, that money is not guaranteed at all either. So that is a cheaper burden on the Warriors. And then also going back to how the management views Jordan Poole's potential, they're picking up a contract where they know what they're going to get. They're picking up a contract where they know what they expect from Chris Paul and what they're going to get. They don't know what they can expect from Jordan if they see his potential as such due to how he played in the playoffs this year. So they don't know what they're going to get from Jordan Poole after he signed that contract with them. So they're leaving it to the Washington Wizards to figure that out. That was the last thing I wanted to say, but anything else before we close the segment?
I think it gives them the potential financially to add to Draymond's contract if that's what he is aiming for. I think it gives them the potential to even look into other players, other options if we don't get Draymond back, because if we don't get Draymond back, they're gonna need another option. The Warriors put a lot of faith in their rookies. They put a lot of faith in their draft picks. They put a lot of faith in their G League. They've already posted these 2 picks from the draft that the 2 players they picked up from the draft, they've been posting them a lot on social media. I think that they're going to try to find that same potential that they found in Jordan Poole in those 2 players. It's one of those time will tell moments. Like, there's not much else as a non-management person specifically, but not much as a fan that you can even do or say. Like, it's just one of those things that you have to play out and hope for the best and hope for the sake of the rest of the team that it is the best because these are CP3's final years. I don't think that we're looking at Steph's final years, but I think we're looking at the point where he's figured that he's accomplished everything that it was projected that he would accomplish. And I think he's at the point where I don't have to play until like I'm absolutely done. Like I think LeBron is at the point because he wants to play with Bronny, he has to play until he's absolutely done. I don't think Curry has that kind of mindset. I think he's just gonna keep playing until he is done. Like
The only thing left for him
I
to
can
do winning more championships.
what is there really left for him to do other than pick up more all stars, I guess. I do think that depending on how Clay performs this season, we might see the sort of end of his career. I don't think that he's gonna stop anytime soon, but I do think he's gonna stop pushing himself to try to be pre-injury Clay. I think we're gonna get a new version of Clay, and that new version is gonna be like 3 or 4 years, and then he's gonna be like, "Okay, have a nice time." But I think the moment that Clay and Steph leave and you don't have these young players like Poole, like Kuminga, DiVincenzo, Looney, and you don't keep Green, I think is that's going to be the complete and total edge of the Warriors dynasty. I think it's going to take another decade and several completely new players to come in and try to redo what Steph, Clay, and Draymond did.
On to our next topic, we go back a few weeks and we look at the Yankees versus Dodgers series. Dodgers are her favorite team, if you couldn't tell by the hood she's wearing. Actually, tell me about that hoodie a little bit.
Anywho, I'm a Dodgers fan. I grew up a Dodgers fan. I will continue to be a Dodgers fan. Last year, the All-Star games were in LA, and it's not often, I don't think, at least not for me. You mentioned my show earlier, I do entertainment news. The only thing keeping me out of sports, truthfully, is baseball statistics. Because why, as a journalist, would I want to sit there and go through all those stats when I already have to write about what happened and keep my feelings out of it as a fan? Because I feel personally that all sports journalists are like deep fans of sports. Like, I feel like it's impossible to not be and be a sports journalist. That's why, personally, I don't really travel to see sports. Like, it's not really my thing. The All-Star Games is in LA. What's the All-Star Games? Got a hoodie to commemorate the fact that the All-Star Games was in Mine Stadium. It has little thumb holes. I love a good thumb hole. Um, so yeah, that's why, and it matches my cut. So that's another reason why I got it.
Like on Dodgers, man. And recently, Aaron Judge told reporters that he has a torn ligament in his toe. And I went on Google to see how long it would take for a torn ligament to heal. And I saw that it takes about 3 to 6 weeks. It's already been 3 weeks since Judge was injured, so we're looking at another 3 weeks before he's able to come back. And Yankees manager Aaron Boone told reporters today that there is no time frame for Aaron Judge to come back. So if Yankee fans want to be optimistic about it, 3 weeks. If you want to look at the worst case scenario, no idea. It could be much longer than 3 weeks. And I say this to say that the Yankees have really been struggling without Aaron Judge. They're picking things back up, but what do you think?
I think that the Yankees, being the Yankees, should be able to produce without Aaron Judge. As of today, they're 9-10 without him. They got swept by their rival, Red Sox. I think players get injured every day. That's the thing about baseball. The season is so long that people are going to get injured today and be back in 2 weeks. I think that they were expecting Judge to be back in those 2 weeks, and he's not back. And that's something the Yankees are going to have to let go of. I think there are certain times when players get injured, like teams are just like ready and waiting for them to get back because they need that sort of productiveness. Aaron Judge is a very productive player. But if they don't have a timeline to come back, which Aaron Judge, as of right now, does not have a timeline to come back, it's time to make changes to make up for that productiveness. I think that the Yankees should have already made those changes, but because they haven't, they need to do that immediately. They won the game today, which helps them slightly, but I think it still puts them at a deficit as we go into this All-Star break. I think you expect the Yankees to be the top of the East. They're not right now. I think the rest of the club just has to step it up. Baseball is a team sport. Like, it's odd to see how much one player can affect an entire team on a sport that quite literally would not work if you have one player out of whack.
And excuse me if I get a little bit too passionate here, but I'm on Twitter every day, on baseball Twitter every day, and I see Yankee fans yelling at the general manager, Brian Cashman, they're yelling at the manager, Aaron Boone, yelling at the owner, Hal Steinbrenner, about how bad this team is and all of this stuff. But what I don't understand is those aren't the guys on the field. They're not the guys arriving at the field 4 hours early, swinging in the cage, going on the field, putting their hearts out on the field. They're You're not getting on the guys that are actually doing that, except for Josh Donaldson, of course. Everybody, Josh Donaldson. But what is it gonna take for people to start realizing that the veterans need to step up? Giancarlo Stanton needs to step it up, no doubt about it. Anthony Rizzo, he's doing better, but he needs to step it up. And DJ LeMahieu, he needs to step it up. And what I say this to say that it's the game of baseball. The management is not the problem. The guys on the field that aren't doing their jobs are the problem. And I want to go back to the 20, what year was it? I want to go back to the 2021 season where right before the All-Star break and right after the All-Star break, Aaron Judge was also having problems with injury, and he also had COVID too. That was the only reason why Aaron Judge was out that season because he had COVID. But during that time, there were a lot of young guys that the Yankees called up, and they stepped up. And the Yankees went on to do some great things after the All-Star break. They were hot right before the All-Star very hot right before the All-Star break. And right after, they were just on fire. And then they went on that 13-game win streak to remind you all. But at that time, it was the young ones doing the job. Now it needs to be the veterans. It really needs to be the veterans to step it up. It's not just on the young guys anymore. You know, the veterans, you're getting paid the big bucks. People are looking to you to do something. It's not just Jake Bowers and McKinney and a little bit of Volpe. It has to be Josh Donaldson. It has to be Giancarlo Stanton. It has to be Anthony Rizzo. And it has to be everybody as a collective. Like you said, baseball is a team sport. And the fact that one guy is out, who shouldn't be struggling this much. I mean, with the Yankees right now, before this game, the Yankees have a 192 batting average, 252 on base percentage. The slugging and OPS are not great. It's a 355 slugging and a 608 OPS. It's not that good. And yes, it's the first half, but I think that the Yankees can really turn it around in the second half of the season. I don't think they'll be at the top of the AL by the end of the season. I definitely don't think this will be a team that will win the World Series, but in the playoffs, anything can happen. You make it to the playoffs, everybody is at the same level to me. You make it to the playoffs, you can make something happen. And actually, that leads me into our next topic, World Series predictions. What do you have?
This is my favorite time of year. Okay, so let's start with where we are going into the All-Star break, because All-Star break starts in 2 weeks? A week? Okay. In the NL, Arizona is first in the West. Like you said, by the time we get to playoffs, anything could happen, but I think if Arizona keeps the first place situation going and gets into that playoff zone, truthfully, I think they're gonna get smacked out. I don't think they have the experience as a team, as a franchise, and fully to actually get through to a World Series run. But if they do it, I would be seated. If they do it, I might, in fact, buy a Diamondbacks hat or something like that. Just for the fun, just for the fun of it. Atlanta is first in the East. I don't think there's any surprise there. And just to back up, Freddie Freeman was a large part of that team, a large part of their World Series. When Freddie Freeman went to the Dodgers, that production didn't stop. It almost, in an odd sense, got slightly better because they knew now that they had a missing piece. and they needed to make up for it. I'm gonna leave Aaron Judge alone. Cincinnati is first in the Central. In AL, Tampa Bay is first in the East. Tampa Bay is the best team in baseball right now. I would not be upset if Tampa Bay takes it all the way to the World Series. I would not be surprised if they won a ring this year. Go ahead.
Tampa Bay is a regular season team. I don't believe that they will win a World Series. I don't.
What happened to Mixer? Anything could happen.
Oh, but here's my whole take. The take on the yard. Take on the
Here
yard.
we go. Here we
Tampa
go.
Bay has a great regular season. They've had a great regular season since 2020. Emails here. They've played well that season, and then since then they've been having great seasons. What have they done in the playoffs? They have gone from being World Series contenders and
Mhm.
competing for a World Series to not even making it to the World Series in this point in time. I don't think that Tampa Bay will go to the World Series at all. I really don't. But just I don't see it. What I do see, however, is the
Okay.
Orioles going to the World Series.
You didn't even let me finish. We could have got there.
Okay, and I just had to get that off my chest. Well, I thought, and let me go ahead and say my prediction too.
I didn't think that. I didn't think that. Just wrap up. Minnesota's first in the Central and the AL. The Rangers are first in the West. I don't think the Rangers are going to do anything with that, but hey, I could be wrong.
Okay. Don't
I didn't
don't
say I was sleeping on the
even
Rangers.
have DeGrom. They're still a really good team. The Yankees nearly
Who has had DeGrom like consistently? Who has had DeGrom to back them up consistently? Moving on. I think, yes, indeed, that the Orioles are going to make a very decent playoff run. The Orioles, I mentioned earlier before we started that his favorite thing to do, ladies and gentlemen, is call me a hater. And in my haterade moments, I turned off all notifications for the AL because I'm a National League fan. What do I need to know about the East Coast for? I don't need to be in their business. The Orioles, however, the Orioles always find a way to overload my Twitter, to find their way into my Google News. The Orioles do not seem to be going anywhere. I think they are a very consistent and solid team right now. I think that they're going to go in. If they don't make it all the way to the World Series, I think they're going to stop it. I think they're going to make it
no,
all the way to
I
playoff.
if they don't go to the World Series, they'll definitely get to the ALCS. There's no doubt about it.
I think Atlanta's going to go through again. I feel like it would be disrespectful to say Atlanta's not going to make another run for it. I think it would be disrespectful for to say that the Dodgers and the Padres won't make another run for it. I don't think the Padres are hitting enough. That's just me. We're not gonna do this. I don't.
I was trying to
No.
keep
Okay.
it
Okay.
down. I didn't wanna make it, like, mad high. I wanted you to look down, and I was gonna do that.
Anyway, I think if the Dodgers can find a solution for their pitching problem at the trade deadline, which is a necessary thing they need to do, which an hour before we started this podcast, the Padres picked up Andre Jackson, so we are now missing another sort of relief and backup component that we keep in the back pocket. I'm tired of your head fake. I'm
I
tired of your head fake.
It's the screen, it's lagging, it's not me, I promise. I promise.
Okay, then this is my take on the art. I love my team very much. However, if you know that you have a pitching problem and you know that you have pitchers that are better than others, what is the point of getting rid of those pitchers? Truthfully, what is the point? Because we recently optioned Messia, who was a very big part in the past two World Series runs that the Dodgers had. He's had a terrible season so far. But so has Bill Bickford. Bill Bickford is still a very large part of our bullpen right now. Our bullpen is not producing the way it needs to produce. They had a great bullpen game the other day. Kudos to them. But they needed to do that because their jobs are literally on the line. If they did not produce in that game, I don't think most of them would still be with the Dodgers right now. I get that the Dodgers are trying to save money because everybody wants Otani. I think it was very clear when they threw Judge an offer less than the first Yankees offer that they weren't very interested in Judge. Like, it was just an offer to make an offer to show that we're trying to get all-stars. I think that the main target for everybody in this upcoming free agency season will be Shohei Ohtani. Clear that the Dodgers want him. It is clear that we need him. However, if we don't spend money on pitchers in this trade deadline, we're not going to make it to playoff season. There's it's going to be the first playoff season that we set out in a very long time. But I think that's where we're headed. That's my take on the yard. I think if the Dodgers don't find a pitcher, they're not going to make it. I think the Padres need to hit more, or they're not going to make it. I think for the National League, we're going to see Atlanta go back. I'm going to call Atlanta versus Orioles. That's my prediction. That's what I'm going to go.
I'm thinking of something.
Which Atlanta versus Baltimore might be the blackest thing that you could get in baseball. And neither teams has very many black people on there. So I'm gonna just I'm done. That's me.
Definitely, I have Orioles for the AL. For the NL, hmm, it's just tough. I don't really know who I think would make it for the NL. I think the NL was really open right now, but for some reason, I have huh?
It's wide open.
I think it's wide open, but for some reason, I have this strong urge that the Orioles will literally make something happen
Yeah,
come postseason.
absolutely.
But
Time will tell. Let's see what happens.
oh,
As long as it's not the Giants. The
yeah,
Astros.
yeah,
Speaking of the Astros, no, that's where we have to end. I'm so
uh,
sorry. That's where we have to end. The Dodgers are wrapping up their series with the Astros tonight, June 25th. Last night, I don't even know dude's name. Like, that's the crazy part about the situation. I have read all three of the situation. I've watched so many videos. I have no idea who Brody's name is. Pictures on the mound. Dodger fans were already upset.
Ryan Stan
Panic. Dodgers fans are forever going to be mad at the Astros. They're forever going to be mad about the outcome of 2017. That's it. That's the point blank at the end of that sentence. James Outman hit a home run. They got stuck in the fence. They rolled it, the ground rule double. That angered fans more. Now, in the bottom of the eighth, we're tied. And he balks, which I had to learn what that was yesterday because never in my 20 years have I seen something like this. Which then led to me watching 15 different videos in various speed modes to try to understand the full gravity of the situation and forget the situation in itself. Why you, as a pitcher, with your mechanics, with your weirdness, would do a move like that and then turn around to a sold out stadium of over 51,000 people and scream F you into the crowd.
he goes to the crowd.
No, to the crowd. He was yelling at them. He got into an argument with the umpire and Dodger Stadium. It's a little rough around the edges, depending on where you sit, depending on where you are. However, it's the Astros, so you know that everybody is out and they're not necessarily holding back punches because they feel like they
They're
should have put the drumsticks away. They feel like they should have put the drumsticks away, so they don't really care what they're saying. Like, I think personally, the Yankees series for that old time New York rivalry that the Dodgers and Yankees had, I think Dodger Stadium was very reserved. Like, maybe, like, people got booed when they walked through with a Yankees jersey, but, like, the entire stadium was on their feet when Volpe hit that home run. That's not something that you see every day, especially with teams with rivalries. This is a real rivalry. Like, I think it might even be more hostile than Dodgers versus Giants. Never thought I would say something like that. But I truthfully, it's one thing to be upset, especially as the players, especially as a pitcher, when you have now put your team in a losing position. But to respond to fans in that manner, to respond to the umpire in that manner, when you know you've clearly removed yourself from the line is ridiculous to me. Your thoughts, my good sir.
I don't know, that is a pretty, I would say, big rivalry. I There's not much I can say. Those games are always exciting. I don't really like the Astros much myself, but I do like Dusty Baker. I'm a
I rock with FC.
I'm
That is
I'm
really
a
nice.
I'm a supporter of the Dodgers as well, and I live for big moments. So, seeing that big moment from Outman and then one thing leading to another and the sequence of event, it was electrifying as a baseball fan. So, I'm not complaining. I I'm not sure if he balked or not. I'm waiting for the John Boy lip reading to come out before I even give my thoughts.
How could you wait for John Boy when Ben Verlander has always already given his thought?
I don't listen to Ben Verlander. I don't listen to Ben Verlander. I don't listen to Jared Carabis. I listen to any of them. Okay, listen. I don't want to be biased. I don't want to be biased at all. I'm not going to listen to them. I'm going to watch my John Boy lip readings and continue one of my day.
I think in the most unbiased of my opinion, now knowing what a balk actually is, and then going back and like looking at how little they're called and looking at different times umpires have called them. And of course, you're looking at only in the recent years because we're talking about the advancement of cameras and the advancement of replay. Of course, we're talking about that cast era. I think that the play was definitely a tough one to call, but I think the mechanics of it all, I do think he was winding up. I do think he was ready to go, but his body language as a whole, to have your hip turn to first base and then like to slide your leg straight off and then try to throw it forward, like in front of you. I think that was always going to be a messy call, whether they call it a bulk or not. My final take on the yard. See what I did.
Yeah, I did see what you did there. And thank you for joining me today to talk about these topics, both which take place in your state of California. So
Yeah,
I think you were the right person to come on and talk about it. Talk about it.
yeah. I do sport
Yeah, do sports.
anyway. Catch live commentary tonight for BET Awards. I think I'm gonna save them all to my Instagram stories since we won't be doing an official like episode of the review on the BET Awards. But I'm gonna go back to my side of journalism for tonight.
Thank you all for tuning in to Take from the Yard. I hope to have more consistent episodes out. I apologize. However, I do hope you all enjoyed this. And once again, thank you to Ella Star. I will go back to editing her shows and being bossed around. So,
Boston. Mm.
yeah, I know, right? But have a good day, everyone. Once again, hope you all enjoy. Stay safe, stay happy. Peace.